Christian, hardworking, don't know when to stop saying goodnight. All right? So you got that group. And then think of the movie Deliverance. Remember that movie? Don't call anybody trash. Anybody on this earth. God didn't make any trash. We make trash. That is the softest, worst applause I have gotten in my entire life. Clap if you mean it, and don't clap. Yeah. And don't put me in a position to beg. Don't do that to me. When you take away somebody's voice, they got nothing. I had a chance to work with Will Smith out. I'm not bragging or complaining, just state the fact. Nice young man, and more money than the devil, okay? But one of the things I noticed in Hollywood was when you go in a meeting, some people can't talk. They just can't talk. They have above the line and below the line. Everybody know what I'm talking about? And you can't talk. And so we'd be in a meeting, and because I was his personal consultant, people would come up to me and whisper to me what to say in the meeting. And I'm like, say what you say. Don't tell me. And they're like, no, we can't talk. That's what we tried to do to women in this culture. That's what we tried to do. And I'll give you a little wisdom. I'll give you a little wisdom. Any situation, I don't care what it is, any situation where it takes courage to speak, there is something wrong with the situation, not with the speaker. Does that make sense? I told one of my friends I was going to collect stuff that defamed women, to use it the same way I had used objects that defamed African Americans and their American descendants. And he looked me right in my face and he said, where would you start? In other words, what? It's everywhere. And in this case we have, again, forget politics. Forget politics. You might like or not like a person's politics, but what this is saying is that she's not acting like a what? A woman. And that's very reminiscent when I was growing up of people saying of an ambitious African American, they're trying to be what? Yeah. Muslin is cloth. Invest in your hatred. Take the time to, I'm being silly here. Why would you put that in your yard? That shirt is Cafe Press. How many of you know Cafe Press? Go home and type in Cafe Press. You can put anything on a shirt. See, the internet, you all know this, but I'll say it anyway. It's a hammer. That's all it is, a hammer. And you know what you can do with a hammer? You can build a house. You know what else you can do with a hammer? You can tear one down. I was watching CNN, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and they showed this game where you shoot the Mexicans as they cross the border. We've been using that game for 4 years in the museum because one of my students, when I was teaching, was sitting at his desk one day playing the game. Games and toys are an especially pernicious way to spread hatred. Us versus them. When you say us, who do you mean? When you say we, who do you mean? When you say they, who do you mean? You don't know this about this picture, but it was right outside of a football game on a Friday night. So inside you had this very American traditional activity, the community bonded together, and right outside on a megaphone, you got this guy screaming about people bringing in diseases. We already got diseases. I'll tell you another little thing too. And again, I don't mean to insult anybody, but I don't know, if we all know all these little things. If you go back in time, before the Europeans came here, there were actually people living here, right? Okay? And one of the most bizarre, arrogant ideas on this earth is that you can discover people. That is bizarre. The hell are you going to discover somebody that's already there? That is stupid. But when I was in the fifth grade, my teacher was telling me about Balboa. And, you know, and what this Florida. How? It was a personal discovery, right? Same thing with Texas and, you know, San Francisco, San Jose, San Diego. That's not Millertown. You understand what I'm saying? The people, Californos, were living there. Hispanos were living in the place we call Mexico. Or Texas and Mexico, right? Why is it then with people from Mexico or Mexican Americans, we treat them as Johnny-come-latelys? Why is it no one ever uses the term Native Americans with them? You get where I'm going with this? They are Native Americans. Us versus them. There's a cultural war going on. And don't get it twisted. I'm not one of those people that believes that we have not made tremendous progress as a nation. Tremendous progress. We are more egalitarian and democratic now than we have been in our entire history, and that's scary. But there's still a cultural war going on. And that war manifests itself in a lot of ways. I want you to speak English or get out. If you don't speak English, you shouldn't vote. Well, I got a different thing. If you don't know who the mayor of the city where you went to sleep in is, you should get out. If you made a D in your math class, you should get out. If you hate folks, you should get out. Well, I'm never unarmed, ever. I am armed to the teeth, but not the way he means. Not the way he means. I got the arm of God on me, brother. You know, he's armed in a way that's not going to really help. That's not going to stem the tide. He's a dinosaur. I want to give you 5 last images and then read you 3 minutes or something, then I'll sit down. They told me 30 minutes. I started laughing. Images matter. I want to show you a couple of images that have impacted me. That image of Emmett Till. You know, I tell you, I think a lot of things when I see this, and this is irrelevant, but the mind works the way it does. So I'm going to show you, because I was a Southerner. I was born in Harlem, but from the time I was 1, raised in Mobile, Alabama, actually Pritchard, Alabama. But I'm going to tell you what popped in my mind when I think of this. What I thought was, now he was from Chicago, coming down south and all that, you know, but what I thought and still think every time I see this is, what a beautiful little boy. Now, this is why I say it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if he's the ugliest person who ever lived. But what a beautiful little boy. What a beautiful little boy. Sometimes I have people that come up and they say, well, what would you have done if you'd have been there when Reggie Denny was attacked? And my answer is simple. I would have helped him. That's what I would have done. Don't project your foolishness onto me. I would have helped him. This is amazing to me. Imagine coming here in the 1800s, being used as cheap labor, having alien land laws passed where you could not own land, having miscegenation laws, anti-miscegenation laws passed where you couldn't marry whites or others, being mistreated, and yet working as hard as you could, not making much money, but saving your money, pooling your money, and building businesses, and then one day having a truck come up, pull you away, take you somewhere, and 110,000 other folks just like you, taking you someplace, you don't know if you're coming back, you don't know if you're going to die, and on your way to that place, you're singing God Bless America and the Star-Spangled Banner. See why that image gets me, brother? This was almost self-explanatory, isn't it? The symbolism here is just too great. Because when Boston had integration, desegregation, pluralism, diversity, fairness, whatever you want to call it, democracy, they overreacted. We have been hearing for years how the South, how Pritchett couldn't be desegregated. Selma couldn't be desegregated. Like, we hadn't heard about Boston. And that image right there, and I'm not saying that that's indicative of everybody there, but it's indicative of him. All right, here's a little something that's part sociology, part just my life. That's a lie. Nobody on this earth, I've been a sociologist since the mid-'80s, PhD from Ohio State. And when I walked across that stage, baby, it wasn't for me. It was for everybody that made it so I could walk across that stage. And I had some of the best teachers in this country. I have talked to physicists, geneticists, psychologists, sociologists, and others. Here's my conclusion after all those years. There ain't a single person on this earth that knows why people are gay and straight. Not one. There are theories, some with more evidence than others, but nobody knows. But this I know, coming out of Cedar Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Pritchett, Alabama, that's a lie. And to the adults who hate in this world, my plea is simple: hold your own signs. Now this says something about me. Give me 3 minutes. This says something about me. Get back to that. How do you get back? There you go. This says something about me and my own journey. That when I first saw this image, and this was a powerful image, would you agree? When I first saw this image, I only saw the hand that said hate. I don't know why. But the lesson for me in that is that learning to live in a civil, loving way is a lifelong journey, where we must be willing to critique ourselves. We must be willing to look at our own faults. And I start thinking to myself, is it the case that because he was white, I only saw the hate at first, or focus on that? I challenge each of you, every day of your life, to self-examine. A student at Ferris gave me this, and it was worth probably about $10,000. It's an 1896 print. And I told her that I don't have the money to pay for this. And so she said, no, we don't want any money. All we need is for you to take it and use it for your purposes. And we put it in the museum. And that piece right there is probably the piece that singularly causes the best discussions that we have. And then use your position in life to hurt others. That is not civility. That is hypocrisy. Not cursing does not make you civil. If a man never says the S word but treats people like the S word, he is a hypocrite, and he makes my stomach hurt. A man threw a cup from his car window. Another parked in a handicap zone. Another stopped his car in the middle of the road to talk. Another cut through a parking lot to avoid a traffic light. Then yelled to a woman, hey girl, give me that sweater. I found road rage, horns blaring, middle waving, fist criminal trial dates. And then I found something else. I lectured in one of my colleagues' classes. I took his students to the Jim Crow Museum. I showed them the ugliness, the mammy, the sambo, the pickaninny, the caricature sores foisted on us. All of that propaganda directed against us. I showed them, showed it all. And we went deep, deeper than ever, deeper than I meant to go. After 3 hours, they had left, all but two, a young black woman and a middle-aged white man. The woman sat paralyzed, transfixed, and stunned before a picture of nude black children. At the bottom of the picture were these words, "Alligator bait." She sat there watching it, trying to understand the hands that made it, the mind that conceived it. She didn't say a word, but her eyes, her frown, the hand at her forehead all said, "Why, sweet Jesus, why?" This story is really about the white man. He stopped staring at the items and instead stared at me. He was crying, not a sob, a single tear stream. I wanted to say something, to be the teacher, the make it right teacher, the master teacher. Before I could fix it, he said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Pilgrim, forgive me." All of my years of collecting racist garbage, I never realized how much I needed to hear some white person, any sincere white person, say, "I'm sorry." Not because it was politically the right thing to do, the hell with that. And not because it seemed like the socially right thing to do. No, I needed a real apology. Not a religious apology, not a liberal one, just a real one. The kind of apology where both people know they won't be the same afterwards. I explained to him that he didn't make any of the objects, therefore he didn't owe me an apology. But on my way home, I cried. It was the first time I cried about the objects in the Jim Crow Museum. It sounds corny, but I cried like someone had died, like someone had been born. Cleansed myself of hatred with a stranger's tears. And then I knew what civility was. Civility is treating others with respect. It is sharing pain. It is being broken down and then put together again, not haughty and proud, but humble servitude. Civility is more than enduring others. It is this: whatsoever you would that others do unto you, do that unto them. Thank you.
We want to thank the Pilgrim for an outstanding presentation. I know it's difficult for him to consolidate it, but he did as much as he could. But his presentation is even deeper than what you just saw. And we wanted to use this as a basis for our discussion. And this is the real meat of what you are here to do. Everybody just turn around and look at all the people that's in here. This is very, very significant and important today. We have all of these people here in the stand. So we're going to move very quickly, and we're going to ask now that one of our cities and one of the top anchor people in the business might come. Devin Skilling is no stranger to this kind of discussion. He's held them with New Detroit and also on Mackinac Island as he has talked about race and families and diversity and the significance of all of that. We see him every evening on WDIV4. When I called him about this, he immediately said yes, that he would do it. He doesn't have to do this. This is a Saturday. He's not working today, but we're just glad that he's here to be a part of this because he also was impacted by this, and he knows the impact that this kind of